Welcome to This Week in Pharmacy. I am your host, Todd Ure, founder of the Pharmacy Podcast Network. August 30th, 2024. This year has gone too fast. What we got to get started. I have a lot to talk about. Shout out to UConn Pharmacy and the UConn Huskies. I am, as you can tell by this shirt that I'm wearing, if you're listening to your podcast, you can't see this, but I have my number 97 UConn Huskies jersey on. This is Jelani Stafford. He is my godson. Amazing beast of a defensive tackle guy on the defense. Very excited to see where they're going to go this year. If you are fans of NCAA football, please reach out to us at the Pharmacy Podcast Network because we'd like to track this. Shout out to Dr. H. Hussein Humash, who is our sports pharmacy podcaster. He's actually vacationing right now. I fired up the old text this morning and forgot he was on vacation with his lovely wife and texted him and say, hey, you want to come on the show or what's going on? And he said, hey, I'm on vacation. I'm like, dude, I completely forgot you were on vacation. But excited about this year and seeing what UConn's going to do. Their first game this weekend, we're headed down to Maryland. I'm sure it's going to be a amazing and probably tough game, but that's the best way to open up the season is with a tough game. Speaking of tough games, goodness gracious, we're in one. We're in the industry. We're in the sector of healthcare that's pretty complex. We're going to get into a lot of this through the news. Before that, I want to give a shout out to our sponsor today, Digital Health through iCare Plus. Go to myicareplus.com. Once again, that's myicareplus.com. This is the iCare Plus platform designed for independent community pharmacies, telehealth, telemedicine. They're going to be bringing out other things like remote patient monitoring. This is the IPC group, the Independent Pharmacy Cooperative. You'll be hearing more from them this upcoming week on digital health too. We're going to actually dig in. Hey, speaking of this week, you are up for some amazing podcasts. If you've missed some of these episodes, a shout out to the NACDS. What a great conference that we got back from. We just released episode 1 of the post show. Front and center at NACDS Total Store Expo Part 1. Definitely get in and listen to that episode. It's really interesting. I talk with the president of IPC about digital health. I also talked to Ray Vuano from Independent Pharmacy Provider Network. They talk about clinical treatment management and other healthcare services pulled through the pharmacy and being able to make money. We talked to Walters Coral, which was really a cool update. We're going to be doing more with them. A shout out to Gary Marshall. Autumn over at ShiftRx, changing the landscape of preventing burnout and getting shift work back into pharmacy. Flash returns, Mark Kinney with IPC, and that's just episode 1. So it's going to be a really good series. We're excited about it. Also, oh yeah, topical pain medications with the one and only, the pain guy. That's right. Mark Garofoli, Dr. Garofoli is the pain guy. I'll stop that if you guys want me to. Text me or send me a tweet and do hashtag TWIRx, TWIRx. The Pediatric Pharmacist Review just released their latest episode. You're not going to want to miss this when they talk with Dr. Richard Grossberg. And they go down through complex medication regimens and treatments for our little ones and how sensitive that is. Jenna Quinn, Dr. Quinn and her team, Mary and Justin Cole and the whole team at Perfecting Peds are doing things that have never been done before in pharmacy care. This is innovation. We're excited about that. We also had an episode about PBM reform with one of the architects of the H.R. 1993 bill that passed in the state of Pennsylvania. You're going to have to just get your updates from that. We want to make a special announcement before we get into news. The Symptomatic podcast by iHeart, the Ruby division, of iHeart. It really does some professional development of content for brands like Pfizer and Argenx and a bunch of organizations. But this is an interesting podcast that they are pointing to pharmacists to listen, to give feedback. And we are going to pick 2 or 3 special pharmacists that are listening to this show, listening to TWIRx. And if you are listening right now and you want to be part of this review show, which we're going to dig into this medical mystery podcast that will be coming out, please reach out to me. You can reach out through all social media, hashtag TWIRx. I'll see it, hashtag TWIRx, and send me a message either on a post or in my DMs through any of the @Pharmacy podcast places. But once again, I'll know that you listen to TWIRx because no one else is going to know about this. It's going to give you an opportunity to engage, as well as let's go through a medical mystery podcast. Go to iHeart.com and search in their podcasts for Symptomatic. And that's spelled symptomatic. Hey, let's get into the news. It's not all, rainbows and happy times out here getting ready for the UConn Huskies game. Go Huskies. We got some news. And the Auditor General of Pennsylvania says that the Department of Health Services failed to oversee pharmacy benefit managers, costing taxpayers. The first time I really started to unravel our federal government agencies becoming massively manipulated was with a movie coming out called Pharma. It's not out yet. And then another movie that came out that was about medications and overlooking from a federal perspective and regulation is supposed to keep us safe, supposed to keep the public safe, was the whole opioid use disorder crisis of our nation when Purdue manipulated the FDA and other government agencies. And it was all based on power and money. And this is disturbing. We should have parts of our government as designed to be black and white and to keep the public safe. So this is disturbing, but nonetheless, Pennsylvania Tim DeFore is digging in. Pennsylvania Auditor General Tim DeFore is digging into a report detailing how the Department of Human Services failed to adequately oversee pharmacy benefit managers that provide prescription drug services for Pennsylvanians enrolled in Medicaid. There's the key word for me, because guess what? I'm a Pennsylvania taxpayer. Private insurance is one thing. If you bulk in the billions and trillions of dollars and you're getting profits and nobody's getting what they need and the prices are going up and you just keep pocketing money after money after money, that's exactly what the PBMs are doing right now. That's not what it was designed for. But private money is one thing. When you start talking about my tax dollar, I'm paying tax dollars so that we can ensure people in the state of Pennsylvania are getting medications that they need. And instead of that, they're splitting medications. They're not taking medications. They have no way of taking medications. They can't afford it. And Medicaid is being built billions of dollars from state to state to state to state, add it all up. This is silly. I don't like it. Very excited to see how we can really punch the PBMs right in the gut and get them to start playing the role that they were meant to play and strengthen healthcare and stop just pulling out all the money. Hey, the next article I want to jump into, this is from the Daily Post from Los Alamos, Texas. It says sweeping DEA operation targets pharmacy burglaries and illegal sales of addictive prescription medications. And it talks about how the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration has seen an increase in burglaries in independent community pharmacies. Are you kidding me? So that doesn't surprise me with the rising costs, with inflation, with what our nation's going through, so much disrest. Now we're starting to see an increase in burglaries in the independent pharmacies across the nation. And it goes into some stats, which is pretty telling. It says more than 200 pharmacy burglaries across the United States, including Alabama, Arkansas, Colorado, Florida, Georgia, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, New Mexico, Nebraska, Mississippi, Michigan, Maryland, Louisiana, Kentucky, North Carolina, South Carolina, Ohio, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, Utah, Virginia, West Virginia, Wyoming, and Washington. Are you kidding me? Just everywhere, burglaries. So I hope the DEA understands the element of what's happening in our society, what's happening with rising drug costs, and how this is placing pressure. It's not an excuse to be a burglar or someone stealing stuff, of course, but there is sociological elements to this. I certainly hope they change the way that they treat these independent pharmacies. I hope that the investigations are leaning towards the safety of the independent pharmacy. And I'm not saying that there aren't rogue independent community pharmacy owner players out there. We know that that's happened in the past, but as a stance, because I don't like when we hear that the DEA picks on small pharmacies that are doing what the physician told them to do and isn't like an overlooked thing. And there's a balance. We know that. But look up that article. The last article I just mentioned, the Auditor General says that the DHS failed to oversee pharmacy benefit managers costing taxpayers. I wanted to go back to that because that's from news from the states. And that reported on that first story that we talked about. The last story that I'd like to talk about, this is pretty special. This comes from High Point University. They have a wonderful school of pharmacy down there. I think Shane, one of our previous podcasters, I think he is actually from High Point School of Pharmacy, doing a lot of things with the APHA as well as his own career. But the headline that just came out today: HPU's new pharmacy students start their year with a day of service. Brand new, fresh P1s are out there doing things in the community already. Are you kidding me? This is tremendous. This is showing the community what the future pharmacy looks like. And what it looks like, if you see on your screen, is High Point University School of Pharmacy students Sydney Jarrett, Alan Thompson, Briana Jordan, Nicole Nimpson, Brianna Fulton, and Roly Eban work to organize the West End Ministries food pantry. I love this. You know, being part of the community and being a pharmacist in whatever setting, you always have to remember your community. And then coming out before school even gets started in serving your community. I just want to give a shout out to High Point University. This is a wonderful story. I love seeing this stuff with all the negativity. And we just salute you guys. You guys need to join the hashtag USPharmy. Check out usfarmy.com and see what we got going on. Get your t-shirt. All right. Pharmacy Podcast Network is going to the next event. The next event is the National Association of Specialty Pharmacies annual meeting and expo. That's going to be in Nashville. This is going to be an amazing time of our leaders in specialty pharmacy coming together October 6th through 9th. The NASP will be at the Gaylord Opryland Resort and Convention Center in Nashville. If you are in Nashville, if you're a pharmacist, if you're going to NASP, any of those things, let's schedule an opportunity to get together, get some pictures, and build content to get more pharmacist information out there, just like what public relations does for you, which is a subject we're going to be talking more about: how to leverage public relations and communications to move the profession forward based on your specific usages of your PharmD and other things that you're doing that have maybe nothing to do to about pharmacy, but it impacts the community. So we know that the NASP is committed to the pharmacy care within specialty pharmacy. We've been working with them for over 5 years. This will be our 4th time running their podcast in their main booth. Schedule time with me. If you're going, you got to get on the schedule. We only have 36 days left. We're excited. NASP. Hey, we have an amazing show today. I am so privileged to have two amazing pharmacy professionals, people that have been in pharmacy for quite some time, doing some great things. Bruce Kneeland, host of Pharmacy Crossroads, is coming on the show. You don't want to miss that interview. He is an amazing guy. He's so committed to the success of our pharmacists, more specifically our community pharmacy owners. I'm excited about him. And then Ashley Walker. Have you heard of Dr. Ashley Walker? PharmD. She is helping independent community pharmacies leverage the program that she has and coaching that she has to learn to serve your patients who are hard of hearing or are deaf. You have to listen to this interview. It's a whole big opportunity. It's a huge marketing opportunity. It's a messaging opportunity. It's a service to your community that you need to be providing if you are any kind of pharmacist. Start a program in a hospital pharmacy, outpatient. Start a program in specialty. Start a program in geriatrics, especially where you're starting to have an increased amount of hearing loss. Reach out to Ashley Walker, Dr. Ashley Walker. Listen to this interview. Let us know how you're doing. And with that, we are moving on to the interviews. Here we go.
This episode is sponsored by Independent Pharmacy Cooperative, widely known as IPC. Established in 1983, IPC is the nation's largest group purchasing organization owned by independent pharmacy. With a mission of maximizing the success of community pharmacists, IPC works to provide members with access to effective programs and services designed to enhance profitability for independent pharmacy. Read more about our mission by checking out our website at ipcrx.com. That's ipcrx.com.
Hey, and on This Week in Pharmacy, this is a special interview I've been waiting to have for quite some time. I re-engaged with Dr. Ashley Walker through one of our special friends, Ashley's friend and my friend, Dr. Christina Tarantola, who has a business in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. That's where I'm from. I love Pittsburgh. And it's so nice to have you in our studio, in our virtual studio, and talking with us today, Ashley Walker. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me here. And I am thrilled to be here. I follow you all the time. All the different conferences that you attend, that I'm constantly hearing other pharmacists talk about you. And they say, hey, why haven't you talked to Todd? Believe me, it's been a work in progress, but we're both busy people. So I'm grateful for these opportunities today.
Thank you. Thank you. That is a really good point. There are pharmacy conferences that I attend that I don't see any coverage of sign language or talking to any of the deaf and making that even known to the participants that this is an available thing. So guess what? You and I are going to work on a conference together into the future. We're going to set the stage and we're actually going to do this. I'm going to have you in our booth and we're going to have you as a co-host and we're going to build some content all around this subject today. I'm very thankful for you because you brought something to my attention that I didn't realize, and we're going to talk with our community pharmacy owners, our independent pharmacy owners. You're going to hear a huge missing service, an advantage that you could have over all pharmacy care in a 20-mile, 30-mile radius around you. But before we get to the secret sauce of today's interview, we want to turn things over to Ashley. We want to hear your story. And the question that I always like to ask right out of the gate, why did you want to become a pharmacist?
Well, I became a pharmacist really because I don't like blood. That's just the hardest thing about it.
No blood.
I knew that I wanted to be in the medical field. I knew that. But my original dream was actually to be in the military. I come from a family of military people. My grandfather on both sides, aunts, uncles, they were all in the military. But Uncle Sam said, you can't heal, so you can't join. So I said, okay, well, I still want to give back. Even if I'm taking care of those veterans or current active military members by looking at their medication or whatnot, I said, well, why not become a pharmacy technician? So I started looking into that program, and a very dear friend of mine named Charles, he said, I don't want you to go to school to be a pharmacy technician. You're way too smart and you have too much to give. Go to school and be a pharmacist. That was very daunting for me because, one, I didn't know of any other role models with hearing loss in the pharmacy profession. I didn't have anybody to say, hey, can you guide me through this? So that journey was difficult, but I did it. And it was eye-opening for me. Even throughout that journey, I was like, wait a minute. There's no mission of the deaf and hard of hearing community. And the crazy part about it was I attended pharmacy school at Xavier University in Louisiana, which is located in Roly. Xavier University of Louisiana is in the heart of the deaf community.
Jeez.
And they never had any interaction. And I was like, dude, you're missing out on an entire community. So I made it through pharmacy school, graduated, got a job. I've had experience in retail, long-term care, home infusion, traveling pharmacies, hospital, and I absolutely loved every aspect of it. But not one time did I see anyone serving the deaf and hard of hearing community. And matter of fact, when I was in retail, there was a law that came out that mandated that language line or something of the sort had to be available. And I remember picking up that little language line, looking at all the languages available, and at the very end, I saw American Sign Language. So I said, I see the language here, but how are you going to offer it if you don't have the resources on hand? Nobody can answer. Like, how do you list a language but don't have the resources to do it?
True.
And I returned home to my hometown in Shreveport. And when the deaf community found out where I was, when I told you, they started coming out in droves. Hey, can you help me with my medication? Can you help me understand my medication? But I'm just one person. I can't do it all by myself. So that's where I started this dream of, hey, what would it be like if other pharmacists who are hearing, because pharmacy, let's be real, is a predominantly hearing world.
Yes.
What if they were equipped with the tools and the resources they need so they can interact with this community? So that's how I gave birth, if you will, to Mad Max Consulting. It's actually a twofold. I educate other pharmacists and healthcare providers how to bridge that communication gap. And on the other hand, I provide medication counseling in American Sign Language to those who prefer the language to help them understand the medication, understand their disease state. So that's what I do.
That's incredible. I'm showing on your screen right now, if you're listening and you're driving to work, if you're jogging and you don't have a way to watch, that's fine. If you're watching on YouTube, you see right now Ashley Walker's profile on LinkedIn. Easy to remember, Dr. A. Walker. That's Dr. Walker. Link up with Ashley to learn from her of how to integrate sign language, a way of communication, a program that she's driving with MedMax Consulting LLC. You're a fellow entrepreneur, so you understand the struggles of what it takes to build your own business. Talk to our listeners about going from working as a pharmacist for some organization and creating your own entrepreneurial platform.
What really started me in starting my own business is every job that I've had at the pharmacy, I've been the only deaf person. And that has been challenging because for all of my colleagues that I've had, I was really the first encounter of working side by side with someone that was hearing loss. So you have that breathing, that pressure on you of, can you make it? Can you hang with us? Do you deserve a seat at this table? That's a lot of pressure,
Yes.
you know. But COVID, at the height of the COVID pandemic, is where it all came crashing down. I mean, it was a struggle with the mask. I was like, I can't read lips. And then I have to go back and forth with my colleagues or doctors and nurses and like, look, I want to do my job, but you gotta meet me halfway. I will gladly put a mask on, do the social distance if you let me see your lips.
Yes.
Or whip out your phone, text me back and forth. Like, there's ways to get around it, but you have to meet me. There's only so much that I can do to accommodate you. And I think what it boils down to is I've encountered so many individuals who's like, you're gonna accommodate me. I'm not gonna accommodate you. And that is also the same when you have patients come in that have a unique ability, whether it's hearing loss, in a wheelchair, or blind. You have that unconscious expectation of, they're gonna meet me where I am. No. Meet them where they are. Find the middle and meet them together. Because you don't know what that individual is going through to even be in your presence, to even get the courage to say, hey, I'm sick. I don't know what's going on. Can you help me figure it out? So shifting to starting my own business, it was scary
Right.
because you're leaving that steady paycheck.
Yes.
But at the same time, it's like I need the flexibility to reach the masses that I want to reach, to travel, to share my story, to help others bridge the gap. And I know I can't do it by myself, but I'm hopeful that people will jump on board and say, okay, there really is an entire community that we're missing out. How can we be better? And of course, having your own business, you have your own flexibility. I have 3 amazing children.
Mm.
And I absolutely love when they say, Mom, we have an ice cream social happening Friday. Can you come? I'll be there.
Mm.
Instead of, well, let me see if I can take off work. No. I have my own schedule. I have my own flexibility.
Yes.
And I don't know of anyone else with hearing loss that actually has a business that's geared around healthcare.
Yes.
So I'm literally doing it on my own, navigating it by myself, but I am taking the advice of others who've been in it for so long and say, hey, I know it works for you, but can you help me figure it out together to adapt it, to
Yeah.
fit my needs? Because there's so many things, like for instance, Todd, you and I helped you figure out how to enable captions.
Yes. Thank you. Dr. Ashley taught me how to activate captions on Zoom that I had no idea that it was even an available function or feature, so I could communicate with Ashley more fluid, so that she's not just reading my lips, but now she has the text coming up on her screen. That is wonderful. And Ashley, I didn't even know that was an available feature, and we should do a LinkedIn post about that feature and maybe give people the screenshots
Yes,
actually do it.
yes. That's the unique thing about Zoom is, well, Zoom has it, Teams has it, Google Meets has it, just about every social media platform has it. But the trick with Zoom is the host, not the co-host. The host, the person who sets up the Zoom, has to make sure the feature is enabled when they're in order for their audience to click that button and say, okay, I can relax and watch the caption.
Yep.
Even if you're at work and you don't want to have the sound on, you want to be able to have that ability to turn the captions on. It's not just for individuals with hearing loss. Everybody benefits from it.
True.
And one of the cool, neat things about captions is it does help improve your reading skills and your reading time. It does. So,
My wife and I will have movie time, Netflix, Max, Amazon Prime, and we have turned on captions now because I can get more into the movie so that I don't miss something, because I'm not hard of hearing, but I can pay attention better if I have the text in front of me. So we just leave captions on all the time, and it's been 5 years now, and I've realized that I want the captions on because I don't miss. Sometimes it's good content that is complex, and I want more information.
yes. And I love the captions on TV because it'll tell me there's music playing. Come on, that's what I hear, music. Because, yes, I wear hearing aids, but my hearing aids only help me be aware that there's noise around me.
Yes.
I cannot understand speech unless I'm looking directly at it. So when I'm watching a movie and you get that little blurb that says music playing,
Yes.
or sometimes it even be even more advanced, list the name of the song,
Right.
and I Google it. What song is that? That adds to the effect and it makes you feel included, especially when you're watching a movie with friends and family and you're like, I don't know what's going on. But now that you have all those little details, it makes you feel a part of the movie, as well as included in the laughter, catching the jokes, all of that with the family instead of being outside. So take the same concept. When you come into pharmacy and you see a pharmacist come up and it simply says hello in sign language, it does something to you and it makes you feel you see me. You're making an effort. You're making me feel included.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is hello my right
Hello.
hand or my left hand?
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Either hand. Whichever is your dominant hand. I actually sign with both hands, so
Okay.
there's no right or wrong way.
How do you say thank you?
Thank you.
Thank you. I thought
Thank you. Yes.
is my mother, right?
Mother.
Mother. And what was this?
Oh,
Oh,
you're doing this way. If you go down with your thumb, that's girl.
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 Very
So
good.
mom is at the chin with the thumb, and at the top is
Dad.
father.
Okay.
Or dad. Anything above the nose tends to identify as gender of a male.
Okay.
Anything below is female.
Okay.
Yes.
Medicine. How do I say medicine?
Medicine. The middle finger in the palm and shake it.
Like
Or you go,
it's like a bow and pestle.
hello, almost. Or you can say, like a pill, we pop it in our mouth, medicine.
Medicine.
Just pop it.
Medicine. Okay.
Yes.
And pharmacy.
Pharmacy or RX.
R
X.
X. Okay. Pharmacy.
Yes.
Love it. Thank you. So let's get to the surprise. We want to talk to independent community pharmacies owners, which is one of the sectors of the Pharmacy Podcast Network that we spend a lot of time talking about. We have a show called PBM Reform Podcast. We have Pharmacy Crossroads, that's by Bruce Kneeland, who focuses on community pharmacy. Let's talk to pharmacy owners right now that they are missing out on giving their community an extra service for people in their community who are deaf or hard of hearing. Kind of explain that program to us.
Yes. So this is where I came in. You have your own secret sauce. Pharmacies, yes, in your back pocket. What do I mean by that? I've been deaf since the age of 4, so that's over 30 years. I'm a pharmacist. Been practicing as a pharmacist for the last 8.5, 9 years. And I see the gap. I see the fear that consumes you when you have someone walk into your pharmacy and say, hey, I'm deaf, I'm hard of hearing, I have hearing loss. I see it, I pick up on those body language cues, and you freeze up and you panic inside. And you avoid them. Like somebody told you they had the bubonic plague. No. Think about it. When someone has a cold, who's the first person they go see? Pharmacy, right?
Yes.
So, you're missing out on an entire community. The deaf and hard of hearing community. Guess what? We have insurance too, and we have cash too. And we want to spend it. We want to feel better.
Yes.
Just like the next person does. But if we don't feel welcome, if we don't feel seen, we're not likely gonna come see you. Instead, we suffer in silence. But you can break that barrier. Because guess what? Let me tell you something. Big pharmacy companies are not doing this at all. They're not. Sure, you can put Braille on a label. I'm deaf. I'm not blind.
Yes.
Yes, you have some that are deaf and blind. They benefit, yes. But where's that medication counseling? You may wonder, man, it costs a ton of money. It does not. That is an absolute lie. You just have to know how this happened to the resources, and that's where I come in. And how that works, I know how this happened to the deaf community wherever you are. Because let me tell you, within the deaf community, word spreads like wildfire. Why? There's not a lot of services accessible to us. Think about it. We can go to a concert, there's no interpreter. We can go to the movies, but we can go at specific times because many movie theaters only display captions at a specific time. And it tends to be in the middle of the day when everybody's at work or at school. But if I came into your pharmacy as a deaf patient or a customer, and I see that you're making an effort to engage with me, make sure that I understand my medication, you better believe I'm gonna go home and tell my friends and family who is deaf and hard of hearing, hey, you need help understanding your medication, go to Joe's pharmacy.
Yes.
They really accommodate you. They make the effort. They're gonna come. You just have to be willing to step outside of that fear. And I can help you do that. Because we don't fight, and it's not that big of a deal like you make it out to be in your head. It's not. It's really very simple. All it takes is you being willing to say, how do I serve this community? Where do I start? What are the resources available on hand for me in my area?
That's awesome. Thank you. I want to tell our listeners, if you're watching on YouTube, once again, I want you to go to LinkedIn and I want you to go to Ashley Walker's profile. If you put in, actually, if you go to Google and put in Ashley Walker pharmacist, she comes up on LinkedIn. So you're a well-known pharmacist on Google. So Google knows you.
Yes, Google does know me. I'll Google myself and see how popular I am. I'm like, oh,
Yes.
There we go.
I know, because you're needed. More people are needed. More community pharmacists doing special communications programs and can be done through you. We'll have a link inside the show notes in order to reach out to Ashley. If you are a pharmacy owner and you would like to work with Ashley, please connect with her through that link. Ashley, you have to promise me that you're coming back to This Week in Pharmacy to give us an update on how we're progressing. I want to find state funding. I want to find local funding, maybe federal funding for us to do some things to push out more ways for pharmacy care to be integrated with sign language or communication style or something that you can give us some attention on. So this is very valuable to us as a network and very valuable to our industry as pharmacy care providers. And I consider myself a communications piece of that, and so are you. So bravo to what you've built.
Thanks. You mentioned something important. That different communication avenues is very important, especially in our industry as pharmacists.
Yes.
I don't know if you know, a couple of years ago, I actually did a conference with McKesson in Las Vegas. And it was the first of its kind, really, to have me come and speak and share about different ways to engage with the deaf and hard of hearing community. Think about it. As we get older, we lose our hearing, right?
Yes.
And a lot of those individuals are in pharmacy.
Yep.
So, I was mind blown, but I wasn't mind blown because I knew it was a possibility. At that conference, there were so many pharmacists. They reached out to me, or they came up to me and said, "Hey, I have hearing loss, and I struggle with getting my CEs because they don't have caption."
Yes.
I'm in that boat.
Yes.
They say, "Hey, it's not just for deaf and hard of hearing. What if you're at work and you have a live CE that you really, really want to see, but there's no caption?"
True.
So pharmacists are getting older, and many of them are losing their hearing. But it's also sad that many of them are afraid to speak up because they're afraid that their employers are going to push them out the door. Well, how can you serve your patient? And you can very much identify with your patient because you know what it feels like to not be able to hear. To a certain degree, you know what it feels like.
Yeah.
So you're more likely going to go the extra step to help that individual. So there's work to do.
Yes.
So who's with me?
Me. We are, for sure. I'm going to definitely follow up with you. I'm sure that people that are listening in to this episode of This Week in Pharmacy will be reaching out to you. We'll be sharing this on LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And I want your contact information as part of the show notes to make sure that our pharmacy owners can reach out to you.
Okay.
I
will
want
definitely do that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. Oh, that's good.
You're welcome. Yes.
Excellent. So, Ashley, you have to promise me to come back.
I'll definitely come back.
Okay.
Even if we have to chase each other.
We did. All right. Thank you so much for being our special guest on This Week in Pharmacy.
Thank you for having me.
This is Debbie Marcello, host of the Happier at Home PRN podcast. Did you ever consider all of the potential cash revenue that you're giving away? What if you were to learn about services and products that you could keep in-house as opposed to referring your customers out? On my podcast, Happier at Home PRN, Learn from the experts who have expanded their services to increase revenue, earn out-of-pocket payments, all while increasing the quality of care in their community. Listen to our past podcasts and join us for future episodes where we focus on growing your pharmacy into a thriving business. And we're not talking about keeping your head above water. We're talking about wealth and the survival of your pharmacy.
And on This Week in Pharmacy, my special guest, Bruce Kneeland, host of Pharmacy Crossroads. Bruce, welcome to This Week in Pharmacy.
Hey, Todd, I'm delighted to be here. I feel like I've made the big time when I get on the flagship show of the Pharmacy Podcast Network. This is great. Thanks.
Oh, man, it's long overdue. I tell the story, and you and I have heard this story many times, but some of our listeners haven't. When I started in pharmacy in long-term care and technology, my favorite writer was a writer for Computer Talk, and he dug down into specific issues that pharmacy owners were experiencing. Now, he didn't focus on necessarily long-term care a lot, although he touched on that, and that writer was Bruce Kneeland. So that was one of my favorite columns that you wrote, and I learned a lot from you along the way. So having you be part of this network is kind of a full circle thing for me.
Well, and it's a delight. I remember running into you at a trade show cocktail party kind of a thing. It's got to be a dozen or more years ago. When did you show up in pharmacy?
So I started in pharmacy in 2004, and I attended my first trade show, which was the ASCP in 2005, and it was against the owners. Back then, they didn't understand marketing and they didn't understand attending trade shows, and they told me it was just a waste of time. And now, of course, that organization has blossomed into one of the leaders in long-term care pharmacy technology. Good old SoftWriters out of Pittsburgh. But yeah, I remember having to argue with the owners of SoftWriters originally to spend any dollar. It had to make sense to them, and marketing back in the day did not make sense to them.
Well, you know, it's funny, and this will be one of the rabbit holes we go down, but as a guy who's been a marketer and a salesman for, a number of large companies, it has always amazed me that the most significant sale a salesman makes is persuading his company to change something to make it easier for a person to buy from them. And, you get all these silos and turfdoms or whatever, and figuring out how to get a big company to change its ways to become more customer friendly is probably the most important sale any sales guy can make.
That's true. And boy, what a different age 20 years ago was in pharmacy, and how things have really shifted. It's become a lot more aggressive. You have to become a lot more tied into marketing to a specific service or platform that's going to impact the vision that you have within your community, and to be visible as a healthcare provider. The episode, and the reason why I'm excited to talk to you, is I want to jump into our topic today. We have 3 topics that we're going to be talking about. The first one is marketing, and specifically the new age of marketing. And this is based on the backs of our original marketers, the people that wrote, for example, Computer Talk. He was a pioneer in communications and marketing within the community pharmacy space around normally the Lockwood family around technology, but that blossomed into other things. And, you have seen things change over the years, but the conversation that you had with Nicole McClure and David Falk was extremely interesting. And if the listeners didn't hear that, it was an episode of Pharmacy Crossroads, and it was titled, Here's How One Regional Chain Uses Marketing to Boost, their business. And so talk to me about marketing in general and the differences of what is important today in comparison to, years gone.
Yeah, and this is an area where I suffer from oldism or whatever the case may be. But, Nicole is a sharp lady and has figured out and carved out a real nice niche working with independent pharmacies. What was nice about talking with Dave Falk is he owns like 15 pharmacies in Southern Illinois, and he talked about point blank the problem he had was with marketing is he really didn't know what messages to provide, and he didn't know where to spend the money to do it. And so, he knew he needed to be doing something, so he was doing all kinds of things. And finally, he saw the light and decided to hire somebody who knew what to do. And he said point blank, I spend less now and get better results than I did before. When he was kind of pressed on an example of that, of the two ends of the spectrum, and I just love how we got two ends of the spectrum. He says he was talking with his marketing advisor, and they were talking about flu shots. And she says, hey, do you have your ask me about flu shot buttons for your employees to wear? And no, he didn't. And he didn't know where to get them. And so he arranged to get them. And he says, they did double the flu shots. I don't remember the exact number, but, significant more flu shots with the simplest of a marketing idea that you can think about. And then he went from that area to the idea of geofencing. Yep. Where, they plug into the, I've heard people talk about geofencing. I've been geofenced, but I don't even know the right words to describe what they do. But, they figure out through phone pings and social media posts and all that kind of stuff where you are and what you're interested in. And then they hit you with a message at the right time and the right place. And, evidently have picked up a fair number of new customers with geofencing. And so, the real point is he's plugged into somebody who knows what they're doing. They know him and his pharmacies. And this is probably the biggest thing that Nicole said is, she's got 15 of his pharmacies. I think 7 or 8 of them are traditional, and 5 or 6 of them are a little bit specialized long-term care or whatever. But, she knows and understands the pharmacy, its nuances, and the marketplace that it's in and the nuances. And then I talk with, a longtime buddy, and I'm not sure he's still with her, but I know I chatted with him about it. Larry McIntosh, who owns some pharmacies in a metropolitan area, and he uses her. And, it's a function of tailoring the message and tailoring the media that is used. Yep. And I'll put some words in, and this is something that I feel strongly about, is you can come up with an idea and you can describe what the message is, but figuring out how to say it sprightly, concisely, and appropriately is a real challenge. And the example I've used when I do some CE programs is I can go out on a date with a girl and look into her eyes, and I can say, boy, when I look in your eyes, time stands still. And there's a nice, warm, romantic gesture. Or I can look into her eyes and say, you have a face that would stop a clock. Same message, completely different context. And figuring out how to say what you're going to say is a talent that most pharmacists don't have. And so I argue every pharmacist needs to have a lawyer, they need to have an accountant, and they need to have a marketing agency or at least a marketing person, somebody who can focus on it, who can train on it, who can take classes and figure out how to say things appropriately. And I'm going long here and I apologize, but.
Well, it's true. It's true. And what's interesting is you don't have, when you engage with the TWIRx marketing team, I've worked with Nicole and her team for years. They actually do our newsletter for us because there's just too much going on and I need help. So I use TWIRx. I use actually Finch marketing, just the side of it. So one side caters to pharmacy owners and in taking the marketing lift off of their shoulders. And they know exactly what to say, how to say it, because that's That's the whole bailiwick. That's the whole subject that she's been working at for 10 and 15 years. And then the Finch side is about the B2B. That is, hey, RX Safe, or hey, other big organization. Are you marketing to a pharmacy owner correctly? Or are you missing opportunities based on inaccurate messaging? And it's very dialed in. So it's like a no guesswork that it's not the question, is this going to work for my pharmacy in GRX marketing's perspective? It's how fast can I get dialed into GRX knowing exactly what I want to do? And guess what? Each of her clients are just a little bit different, and you have to be able to pivot, and having an organization like that understands, I think it's key. I think it's absolutely key.
Well, the creation of Finch, I think, is a genius on two parts, because they can help a company sell to a pharmacy, but because they help pharmacies sell to consumers, they know how to help companies sell through a pharmacy to a consumer. And there's a whole world of difference between getting a product on the shelf and getting it into the shopping cart of a person who's in the store. And she's uniquely positioned to help that whole throughput. So Finch marketing, GRX marketing, same company, little different twist, but she knows how pharmacists think and what works for pharmacists. And that helps you. If you're a company with a product to sell to a pharmacy, it helps you. It shortens that. I don't know, makes that simpler.
Yep. If you are in the pharmacy market, specifically the independent community pharmacy market, advocacy has to be part of, just like we're talking about marketing or using the right lawyer or dialing into an accountant that understands you. I think of Sykes and Company as the accountant to go to, because they know pharmacy inside and out. That's their entire business. Is Olin Sykes and his team is accounting for pharmacies. But we need to shift the gear now to advocacy. We just did a podcast, just released it, with pharmacy owner Tom DePietro and Jessica Benham. Jessica is a state representative in the state of Pennsylvania. She helped to construct HR Bill 1993. Governor Shapiro signed it, and now it's a punch in the face to the PBMs in the state of Pennsylvania. It's not everything we need, but it's a big step forward. So let's shift the gear and talk to our listeners from your perspective about advocacy.
Yeah, so the good news for me is I just had an opportunity to do a podcast. I hope it'll come out next week, with Jay Phipps, who is the quote unquote pharmacy gladiator, if that name rings any bell. He owns a handful of stores in Tennessee and is the immediate past, or the second immediate past, president of the Tennessee Pharmacist Association. And Tennessee as well has had some success in the PBM arena. But the real star of the show was Shane Reeves, and I should say Senator Shane Reeves, who's a state senator in Tennessee and has been instrumental in moving some legislation forward. When Shane introduced himself, he said his father was a pharmacist and his grandfather was a pharmacist. I had a chance to visit Shane and his partner, Rick Sane, back in 2008 on my very first road trip. And my wife still remembers the pharmacy for a couple reasons. It was, it's not there anymore. He and his partner sold it and have gone other ways, although it has been reopened under that name, but a different enterprise. But this was a pharmacy that had a post office and a mother's corner and a soda fountain and a pharmacy and compounding. And then they were also doing DME. It was just a remarkable enterprise. So Shane's a wonderful guy and a wonderful interview. I guess the 2 points that I take away from that conversation is one that won't surprise everybody, but we need more pharmacy owners doing meetings with, legislators of all types, state and national, in their pharmacies. We need them going to the fly-ins and the pharmacist days. But Shane made a real point that saying, hey, the dairy people have pharmacy or have hill days, and the dairy people and the daycare center people, everybody's got a hill day. And, he said from his perspective, it becomes a blur. The real trick is to get to know these people personally. And Jay talked about how, he goes to the local rallies and those kinds of things that his people have. And he makes a real point of saying, I want to talk about pharmacy, but first I want to talk about his kids and his grandkids. First, I want him to know about my kids and my grandkids, and I want him to know about what's going on in the community. You need to get to know these people as people first. Then they come to you for answers when something comes up. And, Shane made a mathematical calculation is that if we had 245 J. Phippses scattered across the country, and every half of the, congressional representatives, we could get any bill passed we needed if we just had people like that scattered across the country in the right place.
Jay Phipps is a pharmacy gladiator. He's been marketing that term. When the flood happened in his community, I want to say this was 3 or 4 years ago, he became not a pharmacy owner. He just became a part of the community. He began sharing supplies and water and so many things to help his community get over that hump. And that's when I met him. That's when I featured him, because he made the national news about somebody that was really digging in to help the community, brought me attention to him, and he has been a blessing to my network. We've met him at the APHA. He's been on the show a couple of times. Shifting a gear couldn't have been coupled with a better senator, Senator Reeves from the great state of Tennessee. And Shane was interviewed at the Idea Share, McKesson Idea Share through IPC. And he told me on the floor, he said, Todd, we need more pharmacists in state and federal legislation because they understand things that other people don't. That's number one. Number two, the lobbyists can't fool us. When they come in from the PBM perspective or insurance perspective, you cannot fool a pharmacist that has worked the bench and worked in the finances and worked in wholesale and worked in technology. He says, I know more than most of those lobbyists do about messaging that they're trying to push past me. And all the other, Congress people and senators are like shaking their heads up and down like, this is great. And he's like, calls bullcrap. And I love the fact that what he's saying is absolutely true. We need more pharmacists, number one, to access and to give audience to their state representatives and the senators, to bring them into their pharmacy, tell the story. But then on the other side, we need more pharmacists out there to say, is it my turn to serve? Should I be serving in the House or should I be serving in the Senate? And really helping our industry to stay on track, because without those insights, pharmacy goes astray.
Yeah, that's and it's particularly at the state level, it's eminently doable. A state representative, pretty approachable, and and for you to find out, look around your community and see what's going on and see whether the time has come to throw your hat in the ring and run for office. We need more people doing that. That's for sure. I've got a personal friend in Evan Vickers who's got a pharmacy in St. George, Utah, and he decided to run about 12 years ago and got elected as a state representative, and I think he's on his second term as a state senator now in the state of Utah. And they can do an awful lot when they're on the inside.
It's true. I mentioned something when I was talking about Senator Reeves, and that is being present at the Idea Share, McKesson Idea Share. That was a special conference for me. I had some amazing interviews back to back with some superstars in our industry. Michael Hogue came aboard, Doug Hoy came aboard, Senator Reeves came aboard. I was very excited. We were in the IPC booth. I've known of IPC since back in my software days when they were really forging forward as an owner, an owner operated buying group from pharmacy owners that actually own the organization, which is this co-op that they have. Talk to me about your vision of the future of buying groups, because they've transformed since I started in pharmacy 20 years ago. They are so much more important today to center and to help a pharmacy grow and stay on track without having to always fear like you're going to have to go out of business.
Yeah, it's a subject that's close to my heart. I was a senior executive with the old Foxmeyer drug company, actually with the Health Mart program at Foxmeyer back in the 80s, and actually facilitated some of the first signings of contracts for buying groups back then. I'd like to point out that as a wholesaler executive, we weren't excited about that in 1985, 1986. Pharmacies getting together and negotiating, was something that had been done on the handfuls at a time in particular cities or whatever. But I remember specifically PPSC, or Pharmacy Provider Service Corporation, started by the Mincies in Florida. They were putting together hundreds of people in multiple states, and that was scary to us. But after we got involved with the third or fourth one, and then saw other ones being signed by McKesson and Cardinal, and 40 years ago there were 100 wholesalers, but it was a fascinating thing. But they succeeded in getting better pricing, and that's what the original intention was. I can remember the first conscious effort that I saw was with PBA. PBA used to stand for Pharmacy Buying Associates. And I think somewhere in the early 90s or late 90s, they changed that to be Pharmacy Business Associates. And that was the first conscious effort I saw when I realized that these groups were morphing into something much more important than buying. And that's kind of the path that they've been on the last 20 years at least, with all kinds of additional services. But there's a couple other things that are going on that I think are worth noting. And I can't remember the name, but I think I just saw a smaller group agree to align itself with a bigger group. And there are a lot of little buying groups. Mm-hmm. And I think we're going to see some mergers and acquisitions occurring in this industry over the next year, 2 or 3, where some of the littler guys figure out how to get bigger, or get absorbed by some of the bigger guys. I don't know what you're seeing. Have you noticed that?
I have noticed that. When I entered the market, I think there were 50 buying groups that I had listed, and today I think they're prominent ones, the ones that are really making, I think there's right around 25. So there's half as many today that there were when I entered. And you just said, there were 100 or so out there back in the day.
100 wholesalers. Yeah.
Yes, it's and buying groups have evolved. So they used to be primarily pricing and contracting. That's kind of like the common denominator. But on top of that, it's pharmacy owners that have turned inward to their buying groups to start sharing best practices of what's helped them to become more successful. And for example, IPC keeps testing on their guinea pigs. They keep testing on their own members, and their own members are helping to create these programs. The digital health system, the iCare Plus system, is just freaking amazing what they're tying into using digital health to get away from just revenue coming solely from prescriptions.
Well, and that's clearly the future is where is the new revenue going to come from? And medical service, or at least clinical services, are part of that. This whole thing of social determinants of health is absolutely fascinating to me. And remote patient monitoring, long-term care at home. The good news, I think, for the industry is we can talk about DIR fees and dwindling margins, but let's face it, the future is visible to us. We know where it's going to be. It's just a function of how do we get people to do it. It's tough to change people's habits. I gave a speech early this year at the, I guess it was almost a year and a half ago now, the Northeast Pharmacy Services Corporation, one of the great little groups in New England. And the point of it is I spent 40 minutes talking about the future of pharmacy and, and all the things that it takes for you to succeed in the future. And then I go out on the trade show floor and start running into pharmacists. And the first question I ask them is, where's your store? And then I ask them, how many scripts do they fill? And it just hit me that, wow, this paradigm change, how many scripts you're filling is no longer the second question you should ask is, what are you doing in terms of clinical services and, those kinds of things. So it's just, 50 years of asking somebody how many scripts you filled is hard to stop doing. So, yeah.
I know. And I had to ask the same question. I used to say, people would say, how many beds do you have?
Yeah.
I hated that expression in long-term care pharmacy. I changed it very early in my career, probably 2006 or 7. And I used to say, please change beds to patients, because what's a bed worth? It sounds like, are you really servicing beds? The answer is no. You're servicing a patient. Let's serve patients. I want to give a shout out to Bruce Kneeland. You are a special member of this network. You are just filled with good information. You're a documenter of this entire industry, about where we've been over the last 45 years. If you're listening, please take a look at pharmacycrossroads.com. Once again, that's pharmacycrossroads.com. That'll take you to a landing page that's dedicated to all of the episodes that have come out from Bruce. You're excellent at podcasting. I remember I drug you into podcasting. I knew you'd be amazing. You're one of our most popular shows, probably the #1 show in community pharmacy. And I'm just proud to have you as a part of the network, Bruce. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And I mean, it needs to be said, this podcast will come out next month, but August is my 4th year anniversary. And the first part of September, I'll record my 60th podcast. So it's been a phenomenal road. And I thank you for kicking me and getting me to agree to try this. So it's been a wonderful way to meet people and stay involved. For a guy who's getting a little bit old and gray around I got a lot of gray on my head, and but I just love the profession. I love the people.
Yeah.
I was talking to somebody the other day, and the people who own independent community pharmacies are they love their people. You may not know it. I just read this morning, but our friend Dr. Mayak Amin, Dr. Mack, Skipback Pharmacy. I used to be a patient of Skipback Pharmacies. He got robbed last night.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah. And he posted something on his Facebook page that was the most Martin Luther King positive comment, says we're sorry that somebody was suffering and felt that they need to do this. We're grateful for the community to reach out and support us. There wasn't a woe is me in there at all. And that's the kind of people who I get to associate with, and glad to call Dr. Mack a friend. So Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for listening to This Week in Pharmacy. Our special guest was Bruce Kneeland. To learn more about Bruce, look him up on LinkedIn, connect with him on LinkedIn if you're not already connected. But once again, take a listen to Pharmacy Crossroads here on the Pharmacy Podcast Network. Talk to you. All right.